Hey you guys, we're back. So, oh my gosh, my husband and the dog are over there messing. So if you hear some craziness, it's not me. Okay, so today I want to kind of touch on again on something that I talked about in a later video that I'm posting for Thursday, the first garden chat. So this is I'm posting this for tomorrow, which will be Sunday, and just talking about plants and their costs, as well as what else we're doing.
Know your limits. Like don't do
Yes.
don't try to strive for the instant garden.
Yeah. So in the next video, we're basically just trying to encourage you to not be discouraged. But an important thing is when you're going plant shopping, and I know with gardening to me is instant gratification, because whatever you're doing is giving you some satisfaction that something is done. So you get out in the garden, you say, I'm gonna go weed. Instant gratification, because you weeded now. Whether you do it for 10 minutes or whether you do it all day for 10 hours from sun up to sundown, you will see that it's done. You get instant gratification with gardening. If you say, well, I need to be water wise, and I need to get the garden water, you water it and it's done. So you're getting instant gratification. Now I want plants in my ground. And so that's where people start dealing with issues of instant gratification and not getting it, because they put this little plant in the ground because you can't afford to get $100 plant. So you get the little 6-pack of annuals, and you put them in the ground and you look at how little they are and you're like, okay, this is not what I envisioned for my garden. And so that was part of the next video's not being discouraged thing. But it's just knowing your limits with the garden, not trying to big box yourself and make it into something that is not. Everything starts somewhere. You have to start somewhere, right? You pour into your children like you pour into your garden, right? So you pour into them and pour into them, and at some point they're mature and you set them free. And that's the same thing with garden. You pour into your plants. You pour your blood, sweat, and sometimes tears as you kill things off. And before you know it, you have these mature plants, like a few seasons down the line, and you have this abundance of plants, and you have this satisfaction. And next spring I'll come out into my yard and things will be twice as big as they were, which still won't be at mature height, but they will be more mature and they will be more established, and all the things that I poured into them now come to fruition. And so it's just important to, when you're getting plants, that you realize their mature size. So like I said, I always encourage you to go to some of the bigger channels just for some of their tried and true methods, because those things work. Okay, and the smaller channels, kind of keep you focused. So when you go to a smaller channel with just a few hundred subscribers, you have people who've been doing it forever and who just got a channel now. But the smaller channels have tried and true methods as well, but they just been puttering like the rest of us. And they also help keep you focused and remind you that this is a process. It took me this long to get here, and then of course you also have the process of, if you move, you're having to start over. So if I were to move in the next year, everything that I planted, first of all, I'm taking most of my plants with me. I just want you to know that. But I would have to start over. I'd have to research where I live, and go through the who, what, when, where, how, and why. It's like I've told you since I started this channel. Those are things you have to consider. So now I have to consider my microclimate. Who's going to be in my yard? Do I have patio areas that I'm going to have to create? And knowing our limits. So cost limits when you're getting plants and things. Okay, so we started working on the patio up front. It's still a work in progress. That costs money to get pavers that cost $4.98 a piece. And so, you know, I started working so I can have my little pocket change, but I'm not going to go on my savings. I'm not going to put it on my credit card. Those are my choices, of course. And I'm not going to tell my husband, go get these things for me and stuff like that, because, you know, I want to take my time and not get ahead of myself. So the patio is going to come. The little foundation and the area that we talked about up front, that's going to come. It's going to take some time, and I would love to have it instantaneously. You know, if I had been working full time like last year and I had thought about it, it would be done. It would get done in one weekend, because that was just what I did. But for now, I've learned to just step back. Okay, it's going to get done. The most important thing to me are the plants. Getting those in the ground, making sure that I have put down things to keep away the weeds and the grass. Put down plants that I really think that I won't have to use as much time for, because I've researched my own stuff. You know, I used to have a lot of different plants because I had the time and the energy to do it. And now that I'm older, I'm like, okay, I need plants that I don't have to babysit. And so that means I have to take a step back, look at what I've grown before, go through pictures, go through videos, and say, okay, this is what I need to plant that's going to keep me happy and keep me satisfied. I have sticky notes full of plants that I want to get that will serve me well in the coming months as I, you know, continue to garden and figure things out. And so I think, you know, making lists such as that, I have lists in my phone of plants that I want to get and direction I want to go with the channel, the direction I want to go with my garden, and my Facebook page and the Instagram and all that stuff. And I just need to, it keeps me focused and not trying to get ahead of myself, because it's going to cause frustration if I do that. So I'm not going to sit up there and spend $100 on a tree when I can take that $100 and I can get me about 5 hostas, a few hydrangeas, and a whole bunch of daisies. I can get a whole bunch of plants with that amount of money. You know, stick with the clearance stuff on the rack. You can go through Facebook Marketplace, OfferUp, I think, even. A lot of these places online, you can even go through Etsy, and there are people selling plants for much cheaper. The brand name plant that maybe you're looking for. So if you're looking for a specific variety, type it in, and you may find it on Etsy. I'm just saying, and it'll bring up a whole bunch of sellers that are selling that plant, and you can, like, in Google, you can just like price comparison or whatever, and figure out, okay, I think I can afford this. Even Amazon, I mean, I'm not really trying to promote them, but sometimes they have stuff on there. It's you know, and you can get a good price on it. I mean, you don't want to spend, like I said, all this money and do all these things all at once for this instant gratification. Sometimes you just don't have it. You know, there's light bills to pay. There's, you know, gas to pay and stuff like that. So, you know, just don't get ahead of yourself. You know, don't be discouraged or anything like that. But also just, you know, be very practical. It's a garden. And you got to remember that a lot of the plants that you're going to plant, they're going to get big. And when they get big, you're going to have to divide them. And guess what you get with that? You get 3 plants. So that goes for hostas, hydrangeas, daylilies, all these perennials. Most perennials, in 3 to 5 years, when your plant gets mature, you're going to have to divide it, because you're going to get a dead center if you don't. So that means you have to divide, and then when you divide, you get all these free plants. Now you have all these plants. Where you gonna put them? You know. So stay focused. Make your list of plants that you really want to get, the things that you have researched and said, okay, it's going to look good in this area. Okay. What's our next prompt, Sid? I think we kind of covered most of the stuff. No?
That's all it says.
Oh, okay.
Are you going to read off some of the plants that you want to get?
Okay, so like I said, I have a list. So, you know, in your phones, even it doesn't matter what phone you get, Samsung or whatever, everybody has a notes section. And so I have all these folders in my phone of different things, from garden rules, gift ideas, my grocery list, making hummingbird nectar. And then I also wanted to tell you guys about a channel. I think it's Oh yeah, I have a couple of things that I want to tell you about. So the first one is monarchwatch.org. I believe it is. I'll have the link in the description. I have a couple of links that I need to start putting out for you guys. That one is if you have a organization that is a nonprofit, or you have a nonprofit an education nonprofit, as well as I think it's something you have to go on monarchwatch.org, and they will give you free is it bee balm, or is it free butterfly weed? Yeah, free butterfly weed. And so I had to think about that for a moment. And so if you have like a nonprofit nature center or something like that, or whatever, you have to look at the specifics. They have it on their site, and they give free butterfly weed to encourage butterflies to come to your garden as they're coming from Mexico. So that, it's like creating a way station for butterflies. It's awesome. So go to monarchwatch.org. Then the other thing is, which I think I'm going to put the link in on the very first video and each subsequent video since then, is dialing 811, and that's the National Call Before You Dig hotline. So a lot of people just get out there with a shovel and start digging, and one of the most important things I learned before I started doing that was somebody told me, make sure that you get the lines for your power, cable, something else, and gas lines. Make sure you get them marked in your yard before you start digging. That is very important. Sure, when you're just digging plants, you're probably not going to dig into a line, but what I found is I live on a slope, so I think my slope is like 30%. It might be a little bit more. And when I dig, I literally hit lines, depending on where it is, because we've had so much runoff over the years. And so now the lines, and we have to build up the yard again. You dig down maybe 6 inches to a foot in some areas, and the lines are right there. So I've had to build up in certain areas, or put trees and to keep the sod from, washing away with heavy rains. So it's very important. 811 is the National Call Before You Dig hotline. That's very important, especially if you're trying to get the fence done in a certain amount of time. So 811, dial that number. And then also, part of my list is some of the ideas I have for what I want to do with the garden and things like that. So some of the plants that by my list keeps growing. So I have a list of about 25 things of what I want to get, and most of it is stuff that I have grown before. Tried and true plants that I know that I don't have to baby. Most of them are drought tolerant type plants that are native to this area, and some things are just telling me to buy more rain boots, because the rain boots I have are really tight, and they're just to keep everything out, which I love. But when you buy wellies, they're the big rain boots, and they're wide around the calves and things. And so a lot of the plants that I have listed are plants that I know will do well in my garden, but also plants that I've seen around, because now I've had to change my view of what I want in the garden, and things that are going to give me a show, but I don't have to put a lot of work into, and things now that I have sun in certain areas that I did not have before, which is against the house. The front part of the house used to have more shade, but a tree came down, and now I have to readjust. So part of my readjustment, I looked around the neighborhood, and this new housing development had these pretty little shrubs, and I was like, what are those things? I took a picture of it and looked online for it and found it, and it's called the Indian Princess Indian Hawthorn, and it is a beautiful little shrub. It gets maybe, I think, 2 feet by 2 feet, and it gives off these pretty flowers. It smells good, and the leaves get a little bronze once it finishes flowering. And so that was something I was like, okay, that's something I can think about. And it's, you know, like I said, take a picture with your phone, go online and research. Like I said, most plant sites or plant wholesalers will have in there, if you put down, I want a shrub that only gets 2 feet and that flowers, and it'll give you a list of shrubs that's 2 feet and that flowers. And if you want them to flower in the spring or the summer, and you put those, you put your zone in, and then that site will bring back what you can grow. And if that plant that you saw around the corner is on there, you will see it. And it always shows the plants at their mature size so that you can visualize and say, okay, that's what I was looking for. And so that's all I really wanted to talk about today, those things. And then I keep thinking about getting a, what is that one tree, a mimosa, and which can be invasive, and I'm just like, I really want it. You want it?
I want it. Remember, I can get mimosa seeds. There's that mimosa tree that's nearby.
You need to do that.
Is it playing?
Yes.
The recording. That's a sign to stop. Pause it.
Oh, I'm pausing it. Yay! I did it. Okay, so that's all I wanted to talk about today. And so just look forward to those videos. Make sure you hit those sites on Facebook and on Instagram. And I promise I will put some more pictures up on Instagram. But you guys have a great evening. Me and Sydney are going to go in. I'm surprised that we haven't been bit in the last 20 minutes. I'm not sure why. That's weird.
Maybe the bugs went to sleep.
The bugs ain't went to sleep. Nasty cicadas. Okay, so we will. Okay, we will talk to you guys later. Thanks for sitting and chatting with us today. And like I said, with all of these videos, we'll insert some photos and videos just to, so that you won't have to just hear me talk and just go, you know. I think it's important so you have a visual of what's going on, what I'm talking about, you know, and that keeps you interested too. So you guys take care and have a great day. Bye-bye.